systems developed by individuals versus systems developed by teams. So basically, the complexity of a systems development will be impacted by whether either an individual or a team will be hired to produce a new system. Below, we'll contrast the individual or team development process under the categories of skills available, time, scope, and cost of development. So on the left side of my screen here, we're going to look at development by individuals, and here's my individual here, and then we'll divide our screen in half, and we'll have the team side of development on my right hand side of the screen, and here's my team here. So we'll start off with the individual development, and we'll look at it under the first heading of skills available. So when we've got an individual, they may be very skilled and they may be very highly skilled and have a lot of different skills. But at the end of the day, you've still got only one person's skill set working on the development of that project. So they can do all they can, and anything they can't do that might be outside their skill set, they're going to need to outsource that to another individual or another company in order to support them on the development. On the team side, as the team contains multiple members, the project benefits from their multiple and diverse skill set, which each member is able to contribute in order to develop that project. And because they're diverse, we might have someone who's a project manager who's good at managing people. We've got a person who's a programmer who may be good at coding. We've got a person who might be a multimedia specialist who's good at creating video and editing that data into something that looks great on a new system. That diverse skill sets enables them to create better and more diverse projects. A big advantage here that comes with teams is they have that advantage of teamwork and collaboration. They can work together, they can share workload, they can diversify. There's whole different dynamics can take place through having multiple different members. The next category we'll look at is time. So an individual, they're solely responsible for developing the project. So it really all falls onto them, and you're really counting on them to develop that project. So if both a team and an individual developing the same system, it's going to take an individual a lot longer because they've got to do either everything themselves or they've got to outsource it. Okay, they've got to walk through each stage of system development themselves. Whereas on the team side, potentially it's faster because we've got the multiple members, okay? And they can all work on different stages of the project, or they could work on different sub projects within the development process of the system, giving them that speed advantage if they were developing systems of the same size. But it's not likely that teams and individuals are going to be developing systems of the same size, which brings us to that next point of the scope of development. An individual is better for less complex system, and they provide a less complex development process for clients to interact with, as essentially the client can talk directly to the individual who is the sole person responsible for developing the system. Whereas on the team side, the systems are more complex. We're talking larger systems, multiple people working on different stages. The client is likely interacting with the project manager and conversing with them and telling them their ideas. Okay, and then they are interpreting that and dispersing that knowledge and delegating that amongst the team that's working on it. The workload is shared amongst the team members in which they can support each other, once again, collaborate and have that teamwork advantage. The final area we'll look at now is the cost of developing. And on the individual side, it's cost effective because we're paying that individual for their labor. Now, there can be further costs if they do have to do outsourcing, or because they are doing so much themselves, it means it'll be a longer time frame. So we have to pay that individual for a longer time, and that can increase costs. Okay, but really it's more cost effective for the development of the system if it is a smaller scaled system. But on the teamwork side, it can incur a greater cost because we need to pay for the services of the multiple members. So there might be an advantage in that because we've got multiple members that it might be a much faster system development cycle. So we're not paying them as long as we would be paying one individual to develop the system, but we still have to pay all of their labor costs, which might be subdivided or there might be some arrangement depending on how that team works. So it might be that they're all different members of the same cost as that one individual who's doing it on their own, but they'd have some sort of setup where most likely it would be more expensive. So I hope this video has given you understanding of the difference between systems developed by individuals versus systems developed by teams. And really that with an individual, we've got one person working on the project. It might lead to a cheaper development cycle and might be advantageous for the development of smaller projects. But then if we are looking at larger scale systems that we want developed, teamwork is the way to go in that we have multiple team members who can work on the larger project and really delegate and subdivide and collaborate on different components of that system in order to create a much bigger project.